I'm having a hard time remembering the stories told to me by my Navajo family, but when I Skype with them again, I will ask. This creepy set of events happened directly to me. So here goes. My first personal encounter. It's lengthy, but hey, Skinwalkers. They require a backstory. It started when my two brothers, David and Luke's girlfriend, Sarah, all drove down to the desert to spend some time in the country. This is a reservation land, as it were, so there was red dirt everywhere. Southern Utah, a beautiful place if you ever get a chance. We had some pistols and decided to go out and do some target practice. We took our gear and some old targets to a place called Devil's Heartbeat. I had never been there, but all three of them were familiar with the area. It was a canyon about 200 feet deep. We stayed on one end of the canyon. About 50 feet over, the opposite side of the canyon rose up above us, Anasazi ruins. The Navajo may disagree with historians on the Anasazi's origins and departure. According to Navajo legend, they simply disappeared from existence, leaving behind plates, dishes, and food, and went into another dimension or some equivalent. But whatever the history, the Navajo do not like to wander in Anasazi ruins. I have never asked why, but I figured it had something to do with disrespect, preserving history, etc. As such, none of the others cared a bit about these canyon ruins. They were more interested in shooting pistols. I could see old beds and even cave drawings on the cliffs with my naked eye, and I got this strange fixation on going over there. I'm not Navajo, and I felt that their rules didn't apply to me. I set off down the cliff without rope and decided I would climb down, cross the canyon floor, and then climb back up. This was a bad idea for a million reasons, but it was somewhat of a obsession. I can't explain the feeling. It was like magnetism. I wanted to be in those ruins, and it wasn't just some tourist-like curiosity. It felt like I was meant to go there. I kept slipping and getting stuck on the rocks, and I was so frustrated, I almost started crying. Finally, I was deterred by the unmistakable sound of a growl coming from the canyon floor below me. There were trees down there, so I couldn't see what was making that noise, but mountain lion immediately rose to mind, and I got my ass back up to the cliffside. I said nothing to the others, and we shot the guns for a while. The only other strange occurrence was while Sarah was aiming, things got really quiet. We all heard a sound from behind us, maybe 20 feet away. It was almost like a growl, then a hoarse laugh, almost like a lion, and then a hyena. We had a clear view of the entire area, and there was nothing there. At least not on the cliff tops where we heard it anyway. The creepy part was that while David, Sarah, and I all heard it from a close distance, Luke heard the exact same noise right by his ear. We ended up camping out there to see if anything would happen. And this is when I got completely terrified. Before, I was only scared of wild animals. Even though we had guns, we were sleeping with no bags or tents. All we had were some blankets under the stars and a little fire. So I felt safe when we all lay down. I fell asleep pretty quickly, but woke up a few hours later to see everyone else laying down with their eyes open wide, listening. The canyon was completely full of noises. The only way to describe it is people banging rocks together. There would be one set, maybe 300 yards away, then another clacking 200 yards away, and then 50 yards away. The canyon echoes, so it was hard to tell exactly how many rock smacking rock noises there was, but they sounded like Morse code. We listened to this for maybe 10 minutes. No other animal noises. Nothing. Finally, David, who is kind of a hard ass and the least superstitious of his family, shouted, "Shut up!" And everything, immediately stopped. My heart was in my throat. We just sat there and stared at each other, wide-eyed. It was dead quiet. And then another super weird noise from the Anasazi ruins. I don't know how to explain this one either, but it sounded kind of like a zebra noise, like these squeaky thrills. It got louder, and then the rocks, sticks, whatever started up again. But this was worse, because now other animal noises came. We heard what sounded like wolves or coyotes barking, monkeys screeching, owls hooting, and through it all, that terrible zebra noises. We said nope and got our happy little asses out of there immediately. It took us maybe 10 minutes to douse the fire, pack our blankets, and speed away, and the noises continued that entire time. That night, I was obviously pretty shaken up. Before I could fall asleep again, my Navajo mother came and sat by me, and she said that she could tell I had a rough day. We hadn't mentioned the creepy shit to avoid a lecture about fucking with the spirits. She asked me about it, and I ended up spilling my guts about not seeing the canyon ruins. It was something personal, it felt like. I wanted to go there. Why couldn't I go there? It would have been beautiful. After I told her all about it, I could see that she had a really concerned look on her face. "What is it?" I asked, totally confused, and she explained something I had no idea about. The spirits in the ruins like to draw people up. When they get up on the ground, the spirits push them off. That's why we don't go there. I remained creeped out for the remainder of the visit. Fast forward a few weeks later, I worked at a shitty call center in Salt Lake City, third shift. It was my first night being alone, and I was feeling jumpy. My brothers already warned me that I had a Skinwalker following me, but I, of course, didn't believe it. I don't smoke, but I follow my coworkers out for smoke breaks because I like to chat. Tonight, I lurked in the doorway because I had this horrible cloud of dread hanging over me. I was peeping out the glass door and being a total weirdo. It hit me then how paranoid I had been, and that's when I remembered that's what Skinwalkers do. They mess with your mind. While I was pacing in front of the glass door, I decided that this whole thing was fucking stupid, and I was gonna go outside and stand there for the rest of my 10-minute break. Most of the smokers were already filling back in, but I walked out and put my hands in my pockets, looked at the sky, looked in the building, mentally patting myself on the back for not being a pussy. Then I saw something that I will never, ever be able to give a rational or even halfway accountable explanation for. We have like 6 parking lots, and one of the lots far away from me, maybe around 100 feet, I could see something walking. It was a dog, obviously, but it was almost limping and walked like it was tired or hurt. Me being the animal lover, forgot all about skinwalkers, and I started walking towards it, making the "come here doggy" noises, and then I stopped. That's when I saw it. The dog had the body form of a greyhound, and it was gray, but there was something very wrong with it. It had bloody legs, and it was limping, but it walked more like a person would, on feet and hands. Its butt was moving to and from, if that makes any sense. When it heard me getting close, it just stopped without turning, something I had never known any dog to do. And finally, it looked over its shoulder at me. And this is the freaky part. This dog was looking at me the way a person does. It had huge eyes, way too big for a greyhound, and its teeth were barred like it was considering biting me. Then it growled, but it was like a whistle growl, noises no animal makes. It almost sounded like it wanted to talk, or like if it was taunting me. Somehow, in the middle of all this, I realized it didn't have a tail. And I knew and heard from all the Navajo stories that skinwalkers, when they appear as animals, don't have tails. Forgetting all logic and rationality, I turned and took off. I didn't look back until I was back inside the building and had pulled the door shut behind me. And by then, when I looked, of course, the fucking thing was gone. When I described this to my brothers, they were absolutely sure it was a skinwalker, and they went through the trouble of blessing me, my apartment, blessing them and their apartments. I never saw the creepy bloody dog again, and I have never, since even slightly, wanted to visit the cliff ruins. Just to give some background, this happened in the mountains, near El Cerro de Tomé. Okay, so Friday, 1:28 a.m., me and my friends decided to go for a drive. We sometimes like to go to the Llano, mountains near El Cerro, to experience something that only happens in that area, paranormal and supernatural. Like any other time we do this, we go in my car and drive past Dome Hill, going towards the mountains, and park across from VHS. Then we sit and take in the scenic beauty of the dark desert. We started by listening close to anything and looking everywhere, being hyper observant. At first, we saw a light in the distance, getting within about a mile away from us, then disappearing altogether. We then decided to move on from there because we had to, and I mean had to, see something else. We were driving through roads and flying by at least 30 miles per hour over the speed limit. We then turned down a familiar road. This is the road we knew that something was about to change me and everyone else. It was 4 of us in total. We looked to the right side of the car, saw what we all believed to be something like a hellhound or maybe a skinwalker, when this massive black dog just launched at my vehicle while I was going 45 through the road. We should have felt impact from this massive creature, but we didn't. We then stopped the vehicle, and both people in the back seat looked and saw this thing rise up from the ground. It rose up from the ground and stood straight up on 2 legs, absolutely huge. It was all black with red eyes that are forever imprinted in our minds. I then slammed on the gas and we sped up to about 55. We took off so fast, and as I looked in my rear view mirror, I could see it. Huge fucking coyote standing on 2 legs looking at us as we're driving away.